Hey, welcome back to another episode of the 938 podcast here at the BBFI Mission Office. My name is Craig Stevenson, and I'm an Associate Mission Director here with the BBFI Mission Office. And we have with us today a very special guest, a good friend of mine, actually, Nate Harmon. So from Baptist Bible College.
Baptist Bible College,
Welcome,
all the way across the street.
All the way, yeah. It was a very long commute to make it here for this.
It was a little rainy this morning.
It was a little rainy.
I did have to.
You did have to get your umbrella out.
My Ohio State umbrella out, Craig.
You had to start
just for
today
you.
with Ohio State. So that's why I waited to tell you to click subscribe on this video, because I figured we might get that. But don't let that deter you from subscribing to the 938 podcast.
There you go. Absolutely.
Yeah, so this is Nate Harmon. So Nate, welcome, man. It's great to have you.
Thank you.
And I mean that you're a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
I appreciate your friendship.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate what you guys are doing at BBC. And it's great to not only be a friend of yours, but it's also great to be able to work together.
Yeah,
because we work together.
We do on several different,
pretty regular basis. You know?
Absolutely, yeah,
and a lot of good stuff. So we're gonna unpack that today. So we're gonna kind of talk through a lot of that kind of stuff. Yeah. And but let's start here. Why don't you go ahead and just give everybody, so everybody watching, maybe they know you, maybe they don't, maybe they've seen pictures of you or heard you sing, whatever. But just give us some background. Tell us about yourself, and then we'll just kind of use that as a springboard kind of going forward for the rest of the conversation.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Thank you for having me. This is an awesome forum, and I know that everybody that has been subscribing to the podcast and watching has just really enjoyed all the neat content that's coming out, because I think it's important for us to celebrate what God is doing. Yeah. And so many times we don't do that. Right. And not only celebrating things here, in Springfield and between the missions office and Baptist Bible College, but also celebrating what God's doing around the world through the churches and the missionaries that we all serve. So it's really, really cool to be here, and I'm very thankful for that.
Well, we're glad to have you.
Yeah, thanks, man. So I've been at BBC now on staff for 8 years after being in ministry for over 15. And I graduated from BBC in 1999. I was one of those 5-year students. We squeezed 4 years into 5, so that was good.
Hey, there you go. That's good.
And I just enjoyed myself so much here.
Hey, that's good.
In Springfield. Not only did I stay my 5th year, but I moved back
and
here
you had
to
to come
Springfield,
back to go
Missouri.
Back on staff just because you loved it so much.
Absolutely,
so,
yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So my last ministry job, I worked in Wichita, Kansas for 10 years right after college with Bruce Thomas and at Glenville there in Wichita. And just a wonderful experience. We're still very, very close. And then my second ministry position was with a guy named Mark Milioni, and that was in Medina, Ohio.
Yeah, some of you might have heard of him.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Absolutely.
President of BBC now.
Yeah. So Mark and I, he invited me to come alongside of him there in Medina and be a part of their staff. Cool. And then from there, God had worked in his heart to come here to BBC and lead the school, and he asked me to come in and help him. And that was, believe it or not, over 8 years ago.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
8 years. Time really does fly.
It does. It does.
And it especially flies when you guys have been involved in as much as you guys have been involved with. I mean, y'all have had an interesting run for the last 8 years, but a lot of great things happening at BBC.
Absolutely.
And it's been, I tell you, it's been very encouraging to hear all the great reports of everything that's happening.
It's been great
just across the board.
It really has. So over the span of 8 years, it's come to that time when I kind of equate it to the youth pastor syndrome, where they're able to look back at classes that they've had before, and now they see, those young people that they invested in doing things for God in the world, and it's just a huge blessing. And so we're able to now look back on those first classes that we've had, and whether they've been in ministry now or whether they're being successful in their jobs or business or education, whatever, to look back and see that they're making an impact in the world for Jesus is such a it's a rewarding blessing for us, and so it's pretty cool. And now we're at the point where some of those students that studied missions are starting to become career missionaries because they've gotten through their internship and they've done their candidate school, and now we're seeing them go out in the world, and
which
it's just
is
really
what leads to a lot of our working relationship together, which is just different events, and we're going to get there
absolutely
here in a couple minutes. But do this. Tell us a little bit about your family.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Now let's start with your family, but your actual parents too, because
Yeah.
you guys
Yeah, my
have a
background.
really kind of cool background with Dad being pastor, missionary. So walk through some of that, because you have a long history in the BBFI. So just kind of walk us through some of that.
I do,
Tell us
and
about your family.
It's a crazy thing to think about. So I'll start from where I'm at right now. Our son Riley is a student at BBC,
Yeah.
and he is the 4th generation student from our family.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is really cool. I don't think there's a lot of
that's
4th
awesome.
generation students at BBC, and
sure.
it's just a neat thing to see and think about.
Yeah.
So my grandfather was in the very first class at Baptist Bible College
Really?
in 1950.
Oh, that's cool.
And he graduated in 1952
Okay.
and pastored all over the country.
Wow.
And every once in a while, we will hear of somebody that was in their ministry that said, hey, because of your grandfather, now I'm in ministry, or now I'm doing this. And it's just really neat to see all the different ties. And my grandparents, they got married here at BBC. That's where they met. Graduated in 1952 and started ministry and ended up having 10 kids.
10 kids.
10 kids. So big family, right?
Yeah.
So I have aunts and uncles all over the place, probably some I haven't even met
Wow.
before. But
Sure.
10 kids, and one of them, of course, was my mom. She was number 3 of the 10.
Yeah.
And along with a few other siblings, they had also come to BBC. About half of them are involved in ministry. And so when my mom got here, she met my dad here. And my dad came from the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Okay.
He just grew up in that area, was born in Waxahachie. And, And so anyway, his home church, he didn't get saved till he was 16, but his home church said at that point, when he was like, man, what do I do for college? What should I do next? And then he was posed that question, well, is God leading you in a certain way? And if he is, maybe BBC is the answer for that.
Is the way to go.
And so, man, getting saved, graduating when he's 17, he came to BBC not knowing much about the Bible, and ended up marrying a pastor's daughter.
Wow.
And so it's a really cool thing to see how that's
story.
a big part of our family. They both came here to study missions, felt God was calling them to missions. And so they graduated in 1975. And I always joke, I actually graduated twice from BBC, once because my mom was pregnant with me. In 1975, and then also when I graduated in 1999. So that's kind of a cool thing.
Very cool.
Yeah. So as time goes on, they decide, hey, we want to be missionaries to Brazil. God had closed doors to other fields and just really led them in that direction. And so we were able to kind of see that side of things in ministry and missions, and they love the BBFI, still pastoring today. So we were on the field for about 3 years. And when they came back, he actually took a church that my grandfather was a pastor of in the past.
Cool.
And so they've been in Louisville, Ohio for, I think, over 38 years now. And so it's really cool to see that. But missions has always been a huge part of their ministry and life because of the call that God had placed on them so long ago. And now they're able to invest in other missionaries. And so the BBFI, missions, BBC, all of it, when you put everything in a blender, you take the years and you put them in a blender and you start to pour it out.
And you have
Nate Harmon. That's what you have Nate Harmon when that happens. When you throw all that together, it all comes out in Nate. So there you go. I don't know about that.
No,
I don't know about that.
That's the first thing that came to my head when you said that. So there you go.
Well, I think sometimes we focus on the negative so much that we don't realize that the overarching is so positive.
Sure.
And when you blend it all together and you start to take a sip of it, you realize the goodness of God that's been in our movement and continues to be that way. And so it's a privilege for me to be here and to be serving and to not only be investing in our students, but really overall in the movement of the BBFI and seeing what God's doing around the country and around the world too.
Well, and that's what I love about your position, because you have the ability to influence so many people that are going so many different places. When I just think back, and this is, I'll say from an outsider's perspective, because I'm at the mission office at BBC, so I know we work together a lot, but on some level, it's a bit of an outsider's perspective from what you guys do.
It is,
But I get to look back and I get to see all these students that even I get to have conversations with here, because I talk with a lot of students all the time about missions and about a lot of things, and I think every one of these students has been impacted in some way by Nate Harmon and the staff. And so everybody that works at BBC that has, the influence, and I think of guys like Ray Adams.
Oh, man.
And we just heard him speak at graduation.
Incredible.
And their story and what's happening in their life. But people like you, people like him and Mark and others that are having the opportunity to invest in so many people, and then where does God take them? I mean, every graduating class that goes out, if they're in ministry, you have an imprint on every ministry that comes out of that. And so, you know, it's a big burden in some ways, but it's such a cool opportunity too. And so I'm excited for you guys and what God's doing.
You know, our slogan right now is you want to make a difference in the world. Talking to the student, right? Yeah. You want to make a difference in the world, and we want to help you do it.
Yeah.
We're not going to put BBC in the forefront and say, hey, you know, this is the most important thing. The most important thing really is what God is doing in your heart. And if we can help you engage with that and then and build into you and teach you the things that you need to be taught to be able to lead ministry and to be able to lead people through the Bible, it's such a powerful thing.
Well, and I love that. So you want to make a difference. We want to help.
That's right.
But it goes beyond that, because it's not just that you want to help, it's that you can help.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
It's that you can. And if people come to BBC, students come to BBC, they're gonna walk out with an education that prepares them.
Yeah.
To go out and make a difference. Yeah. Enter to learn, go forth to serve.
Yep.
I mean, and that's been it since day one.
Literally day one.
Literally day one. And so that's really cool to see how that's still going on, and the emphasis is still there. So now you mentioned Riley, one of your kids, but you have another one that just graduated. And your wife.
So my wife and I, we got married in 1998, and we did our internship here in the city. My wife's a little bit older than me, not too much. We won't talk about that because I don't know if she'd enjoy that very much, but
nice.
But no, she's an incredible.
Rochelle, if you're watching right now, hit mute for the next 30 seconds.
She's an incredible, godly woman and is constantly pushing me to seek after what God has for us and in our lives and in our marriage and in our home. And I'm very thankful for that. And not everybody has that. So it's a huge boost of encouragement for me to have a spouse like that. So I graduated in 1999, moved to Wichita, and we had our first child in 1999. Okay. And so it was very shortly after our 1 year anniversary where Riley came along, and he was our firstborn child. And both of our kids were born there, Riley and Brady. Cool. Brady was born in 2003, and just last Sunday graduated from high school. Nice. So we're kind of entering this phase where it's like,
congrats, man.
Yeah, absolutely. That's cool.
That's cool.
And he's just trying to figure things out, just like every other 18-year-old trying to figure, what's going on. Riley loves worship ministry and really loves missions as well. And just again, he just got married this November to Blair Haley. Yeah. And him and Blair are going to do an incredible job no matter what God has them do. I mean, it's just the talent that they have is just incredible. Yeah. And when you see that from an adult perspective, not only a parent, but adult perspective of, man, that's really cool that God's gifted certain people certain ways. Absolutely. Then you're able to just kind of build into that. And so we do that. And Blair is John Haley's daughter. So he's pastor in Fort Worth.
Fort Worth.
Yeah. So kind of bringing a couple of the churches together there, and ties to the BBFI. But we love our kids, and we just, no matter what, we just want our kids to glorify God with their life, and they're doing that, and they're doing that. And so he is a student right now. So is she. She's an elementary education major, cool. and so they've got a few years left, and they're trying to figure things out. And we're praying for God to just to work in their life and their heart. And
for sure. And, that's awesome. Well, hey, if you're just joining us, we've got Nate Harmon, Vice President of Student Affairs over at BBC, across the street here in Springfield, Missouri, and we're excited to have him on. Glad that you jumped on to join into the conversation with us today. If you haven't yet, click subscribe on this video and on this podcast, and like and share this to all your social media accounts, and we would greatly appreciate that. So coming back to Nate, then one of the things, I kind of want to dig in a little bit here and talk about the relationship between BBC and the mission office, right? Yeah. So you and I have had the privilege of working together on a number of different things. One of the biggest ones has been the World Mission Forum, right? So a few years ago, 5 years ago now, almost 6 years ago, we kind of reformatted that. And brought it from BBC over to the mission office. Right. So you've been at all of these. You kind of walked through that. And this event's designed to give students a real life look at missions. We don't want to sugarcoat things.
Yeah.
We want them to see an honest look at the joys and the struggles and God working and what happens. They hear from missionaries, they hear from pastors, they hear from mission office staff. We've had all kinds of different things go on the last several years with that. So if you don't mind, just kind of walk me through, because you've been here for all of them, just kind of give us a picture of what that looks like from BBC's perspective.
Sure.
And then what kind of impact has that had on the lives of the students?
Yeah. So a World Week or a Missions Week has always been a part of BBC's year and schedule.
Yeah.
What it looks like has changed throughout the years.
Sure. Yeah.
And I remember when I was a student here, it was a great week. We always enjoyed hearing from the mission staff and just all of those different things that kind of challenge you to think about the possibility of missions in your life, whether it's here or somewhere else, right? So I know that when you came on board here, we were like, well, how can we do this better? Because we were doing a good job of presenting the need. Sure. That's always been there.
Yeah.
But I think the connection of, man, I've got a place that can help me do it.
Yeah.
And this is how this would work.
Sure. In a real
really opens
way.
up their eyes to say, hey, this is a possibility.
Yeah, sure.
Like wait a minute, I could actually do this. Yeah. And so when we changed the format to bring everything over to the missions office for that week and have our times together in the Boonstra Chapel and be able to experience the museum that you guys have and all the inner workings of the mission office and how things get shipped out and how things get communicated and then the process of, okay, so what is my next step? Yeah. As a student, like I understand that there's a need and I'm feeling that draw, but what is the next step for me to engage with this and kind of wrestle with what God has for me? It makes it a really easy thing for them to now come over to your office or
and we have them over
whoever.
All the time. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's not only helped us to say, hey, here's a pathway. Yeah. And the BBFI is right across the street, so let's look at that first. Yeah. But it also allows you to say, hey, come on over anytime. Sure. Come on over to our office. Let's look and explore what God's doing in your heart and your life. And I'm not a part of those conversations when they come over here, but I'm a part of the part where they go, okay, Nate, I kind of sensing this, and do you think Craig might be available, or can I just pop over? And I'm like, yes, go.
Yeah, go anytime, please. If you're a BBC student and you're watching, come over anytime.
Yeah,
let's
absolutely.
Talk. So, and that was the heart behind the whole thing. You know. Just having the chance to refresh everything, rebrand it, and relaunch kind of a new experience. And that week, our office has a lot going on all the time, and so it's a challenge sometimes to have that here because it takes so much. But our staff has been incredible. The team effort that it takes to put that on every year is just incredible. So we want to thank the mission office team.
Absolutely,
for working through that. And
they're such great
put
hosts
that together.
Too.
And but it's been really cool because especially this year, COVID hit. We had scheduled the World Mission Forum, and that's a 3-day event, and we were planning that for the fall. Yeah. And through a series of things, COVID and other things, we had to reorganize and cut down days and change plans. But we finally got to have a full missions chapel over here. Yep. And at the end of that missions chapel, we had, I think, 7 or 8 students that signed up to meet with me at some point during that next week. Yeah. And almost every one of those are going to be ready to be a missionary when they graduate. Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
That's they've got awesome. Got their student loans. They're ready where they need to be. They've been prepping. I talked to one, and it was an incredible story. She said, when I came to school, I didn't realize, where I needed to be. With loans and money and all that kind of stuff. But she said, I found that out and I've been prepping, I've been paying it off and I'm going to be ready to go and I can't wait. And it's just so cool to see now these conversations that we've had for several years. You talked about that earlier. Yeah. Now they're getting ready to the point where they're ready to go to the mission field and they're almost ready and almost all set.
I would say that probably there are probably some that 3 years ago came to the mission forum, experienced it, surrendered their life in that room, and then now they're coming back to you 3 years later and saying, "Hey, let's go."
Yeah, absolutely. And what's cool is I've got to visit with them every year, at least once, because whether it's around the forum or something else, I see them on campus or whatever. You know, I talk with them all the time. It's really cool to develop those relationships from this side of the street with students that are wanting to pursue missions. And so for me, I just want to say thank you for letting us, number one, provide an event for the students, host it here, and then the partnership to work with that to push the students to come. And then we have a great turnout.
We do.
I mean,
in fact, this year, because of COVID, we weren't requiring. Usually we require, hey, if you have class, you need to be at this place, and we're going to make sure you're there. But this year, it's just hard to make that requirement, for a lot of different reasons. And when I walked in and I saw a full room, I was just like, okay, these kids love Missions Week. They love the Mission Forum. They love hearing about what God's doing around the world and how he's using a place that's really right in their backyard to do it.
Yeah, and it's great because we hear the reports. We get feedback all the time about students. Hey, when is the World Mission Forum? When is this coming up? when are you going to be here or whatever? And it's been really cool the last few years because I've had the privilege of being in some classes at BBC as well, some mission classes. And we did another project with BBC.
Yeah, and Dr. Dunning is an incredible teacher. And let me just say, it has been a huge blessing for BBC to have these times with our students over here. But not only has the mission office helped us in regards to, hey, let's help them, find their calling, fulfill their calling, and see where God's leading them. But you've also come alongside of us and partnered with us to make sure our experience in the classroom is the best that it possibly can be. And that was incredible. A couple years ago, we had a need to redo a room, and the vision for that was to make it a missions room where we can engage with missionaries from around the world live, in person. And you were a huge part of that, spearheading that project and making sure all the technology was right and the colors and it's a beautiful place. And so we definitely want to say thank you for that. And it's incredible when you realize that you have partnerships like this that want to help each other and be a part and figure out what the next best thing is to do together. And I think we've seen that. I think we've found that.
Well, and I love projects like that. And here's why. Because we have an incredibly talented team, right? So we have Kenna, who does so much down the path of technology. She is extremely gifted and knows what she's doing, right? And we have Mike Escabel on the media side doing graphics and doing videos. Right. Yeah, he's sitting behind the camera right now. So, that's why he said that. He's really good. And so in a project like that, it's let's bring them to the table and say, hey, here's our space. What do you see? What can we do? And to have them engaged in that and to have their thoughts and then to use graphics for the wall, because we ordered a bunch of canvas prints and things for the walls. And it was a design pack that Mike had designed for just general use, but then we got it for the office, and then for Kenna to work out all the hardware stuff and the computer stuff, and then just to work through that together was such a fun process for us. And then to get to partner with Dr. Dunning as well to get that all working together down the path at the school was just a really cool thing. Yeah, so.
And it's been a huge blessing for our students, and I think that the students that were here before realize that blessing. I'm sure some of the students that are here since don't realize the difference that those types of improvements make for their education and for what they're going to do. It's a great thing. So
well, it just speaks again to the relationship between BBC and the mission office. And I look back and working with new candidates like I do, and in the recruiting process, I get to go back and I get to see where our candidates come from. And the vast majority of all of our missionaries at some point went through the doors of BBC. And it's really cool to see that that history continuing. To see more people coming out that are going to be missionaries. And to see that continue. And so the question is, how do we strengthen that process?
Yes.
And so for us, we want to develop deeper relationships with you guys, so we can see more students come out and have a pathway to the mission field wherever God's leading them.
And it's important for us to recognize that because from the very beginning, that was the vision, right?
Yeah, sure.
That missions and education would be a huge. It would be the feeder
Yeah.
for the entire movement of the fellowship, and so to be able to be a part of that is an incredible thing, and to know that partnership is there. And that we love working together and seeing what God is doing through our students is an awesome thing.
Yeah, and we're not done. We have a lot of things that we've discussed, and a lot of ideas, and a lot of things. So who knows where that's going to go, and what ideas will actually make it to where we're able to get through some of those.
And they love all the just little things when you guys do a little bit of a giveaway or you throw something in their mailbox. I mean, and that goes to all of our alumni, really, But just being an encouragement to our students. Some of our students come from homes that mom and dad do not really want them to be at a Bible college, and they really don't see a value in spending your college years studying the Bible and studying what God has for you and exploring those ideas. And so whenever our students can sense encouragement from whether it's an entity of the fellowship or a church or an alumni or whatever, it's just a huge thing.
Yeah, and that's why one of my favorite days of the year is actually move-in day.
Oh, yeah.
When we're able to have our tent over there for the party out in the quad.
Yep.
And we have giveaways, and we're doing a variety of different things, and having the chance to meet students when they first walk on campus. And they're moving in, because we get to meet their parents, we get to meet them.
You do.
And just to show that connection on that day it's one of my favorite times of the year, just to be able to, knowing that we're going to have conversations and they're going to see us throughout the school year, but that initial contact. And so the chance that we've had to be involved in that's been great.
Well, a lot of times when the student comes to study missions, the parents will have those questions like, okay, well, that's great that they're going to be able to take these classes and graduate, but then what? And for us to be able to have an answer that's right across the street is a great thing.
Yeah, well, and then to tag on that too, several years ago, we got to where the tours of BBC. So a family comes, and they're interested in missions, and now that tour leads them through part of the mission office where they get to come and meet me, and we get to hang out and visit for a little while and talk about that pathway. And so it's been really cool to see the intentionality and the strategic planning that's going on down that path that's led to some really great results, and just praying that continues, and looking forward to that. So
it's a struggle for a lot of mission organizations right now, and even Bible colleges across the nation. And so what our prayer is that God would still stir the hearts of young men and women to serve Him with their life, and that's what we do. And that's the bread and butter. That's the heart behind BBC. It's the heart behind the fellowship in general. And so we want to continue that on.
Yeah, and I love that. You've heard of this Project 938. We put that out there. And the whole point of that is to follow through with a prayer request that Jesus gives to pray for more laborers into His harvest. Yeah. And the exciting thing is going to be this fall, I think, when we see people from all around the world coming together on the same day. BBC is going to be involved in that. We're going to talk through some of that in the coming months and what that can look like, and some things that maybe we can even come alongside and do with you guys pushing towards that. But to know that process could lead students to BBC, to do an education that's going to lead them to the mission office, to go out as missionaries, that is something that is incredibly exciting for me. Yeah, that's just awesome. Thinking down that path and thinking ahead. And so I want to encourage you, if you haven't signed up for Project 938, if you're a pastor and your church isn't signed up, go to project938.world and get registered. You're going to get a ton of resources leading into this Sunday on October 3rd called 938 Sunday, where we all from around the world, over 24,000 churches potentially are going to be involved with this in every time zone around the world, praying for more laborers on the exact same day. And our hope is that we see more people surrender, so that we see more people going and more people coming to BBC and more people going to the mission field, to the mission office, and we see more people come to know Christ as their Savior because of it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's all about, right?
Absolutely.
I'll never forget when John, Brother Connerup, he launched the 938 to our students. Was it last year's forum or
like
2 years ago, 3 years ago?
So the
idea of this
challenge,
the idea of 938 challenge has been around, just kind of percolating in the background for a little bit, and ever since then, every semester, even up until this last one, and this has been 3 years. If I'm in a class or whatever. Sometimes I'll sneak through and, just say hi to people, or if I'm teaching a class and it's during the 9:38, somebody's alarm will go off.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And it's one of our students.
That's cool.
And in that moment, there's not many colleges in the country that would probably do this, right?
Sure.
But our professors will say, hey, it's 9:38.
We need to pray.
It's time to pray.
I love that.
Yeah. And so to see that come to fruition just in our little neck of the woods, our little campus, and what God's doing in their heart, that they are already connected with that, and they get it. It's going to be amazing to see what God does with it on a global scale.
Well, and that's really cool because John had come up with the 9:30 challenge, and that's simply if you're not familiar with that, it's really the baseline of what fed into us developing this Project 938, all centered around that 9:38 challenge. Yep. And it's at 9:38 in the morning and 9:38 at night, one of the two or both. Set an alarm on your phone, and when that alarm goes off, just simply back ahead and just say, God, please call more people to Mission Field. I mean, not a complicated prayer. You're not praying for Uncle Bob and Aunt Sue, whatever. Not that that's a bad thing. But in that moment, you're just praying for more laborers to go to the mission field. And so,
and the more you do that, and it's a scary thing, but the more you do it, the more you start to feel that tug. On how can I be better? How can I be a better laborer? How can I share the gospel more with people?
My phone's set for 9:38 every morning.
Same.
Right. And so, but what I've noticed about that is, especially here the last probably 6-8 months, I noticed that I know that time's coming up, but it's made me more aware of people around me. Because I know the point of that is to take the gospel, and I know the point of that is for more people to go out and share the gospel. So it's made me more intentional about how can I have gospel conversations every day. And to see that happening in college students' lives at BBC, to see that in our churches, to see that on the mission field. I mean, we've had people doing this 9:30 challenge for several years now, all over the world. And then you bring something like Project 938 to the table, that is a massive undertaking, but the payoff is huge because we're just simply asking God to do what Jesus asked us to ask for.
That's right.
And it's going to be exciting to see what happens. So set your alarms.
Absolutely.
9:38 challenge, 9:38 in the morning, 9:38 at night. When that alarm goes off, pray for more laborers. And then, again, if you haven't registered for Project 938, you need to do that. Project938.world and get registered. And you're going to get a ton of resources. And one of those resources, and I'm just going to mention it, and not that it has anything else to do with today other than Project 938, is we've put together a documentary on the life of Marjorie Browning.
Oh, incredible.
A single lady that graduated from BBC.
That's right.
Went down to Brazil to Two Brothers Swamp when everyone here told her not to do it. And she did it anyway. And at the end of her life, she said, if I had to do it all over again, I would do it. And just to hear her story and hear about what happened to her and how her legacy is still playing out today. It's really incredible. And Mike and his team have done a great job putting that together. I'm excited for everybody to see that. I know we released the trailer for that actually at Fellowship Week this week, this year. And I got a ton of great feedback. I had messages from several places. Hey, can we get this in this language, language? So that's just one of the many resources you're going to have access to if you register for Project 938 and 938 Sunday, October 3rd.
It's incredible. And I've done the same thing. I've labeled my alarm, send more laborers. Send more laborers right at 9:38. So it's a very easy thing to do. It's something that all of us can do. And it just goes to the idea of how the mission office, how our movement is trying to create unity and on a mission, right? And that's spreading the gospel. And I think a great representation of that was just a little bit ago here in Springfield, May 3rd through the 5th or 3rd through the 6th when we had our fellowship week here.
And it was a great week.
It was incredible. It was just an awesome week. It was just a sense of unity and love. And part of that is probably because, people haven't been together for a while and, they finally, we're seeing just making what's important and loving each other and realizing that no matter how we do it, we are doing it. Okay, and that's sharing the gospel and seeing churches built and seeing missionaries go out. And so I was so encouraged by that week. And so many of the same people were texting us on our side and just loved the resources that were available, loved the feel of the week, loved the things that were going on, and the way that we were able to celebrate alumni, BBC missionaries. Man, how many 50-year awards did we give out? 6 awards.
6 awards this year. Yeah.
And that's an incredible thing.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
we need 6 more to fill those
Who's gonna
6.
take their spot?
Right.
Right.
And in 50 years from now, receive that same thing. So, and they were people that a lot of people know, right?
Yeah.
And it's just, it was such an encouraging week.
Yeah.
And I hope that it's a catalyst, it's a jumping off point for us to say, hey, now's the time for us to, to do great and greater things for God.
A good picture of that within that week was with one of our missionaries that was approved that morning. So we see the 6 globes being handed out, and then one of the single lady missionaries that's a BBC grad.
Yes.
Says, I can't wait till I get mine.
Right.
That's her plan. That's what she wants to do, and to see that attitude coming out in our college students and in future missionaries. That's what we need.
Incredible.
And we need more of it.
Yeah.
And that's what makes all of this worth it.
Yeah. And a passion
really
to say, hey, I will go anywhere.
Yeah.
And our God, no matter what, is not restricted.
Yeah.
It's an incredible thing.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely great.
Loved it.
Well, Nate, man, it's great to have you here today. Thanks for stopping in.
Thank you for having me. This is cool.
And listen, I'll give you one chance. Anything else you want to say? You got 30 seconds.
Well,
anything
hey,
else you want to say?
First of all, again, just thank you. We love the missions office, and we love that our students can be a part here and what you guys have done. And we hope that we've been a blessing to you guys as well. And just be praying for BBC. And
for sure.
not only, look, I think that we get into this mode of we need to pray for survival, of all these things. Well, let's pray for a movement to be created.
Absolutely.
Let's pray for momentum, right?
Yeah.
Let's pray for God to do even bigger things in our future. And I want to be a part of that. I know you do too.
Absolutely.
People that are watching this podcast, I'm sure that they do as well, and they can be, and they can do that by prayer and by helping us. And so, try and just be a part. Every single person can be a part somehow, some way, whether it's through BBFI missions, whether it's at BBC.
And you know how that movement gets going and gets going really well. Everybody in their own minds and their own hearts saying, "I'm going to get involved."
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm going to get involved.
Yeah.
And the more people we get involved, the bigger the movement can be.
That's it.
So that's what we're praying for. So
that's good.
Register for Project 938. Again, thanks for being here for the 938 podcast. We're here every Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock Central Time here on YouTube. You click subscribe and like and share this on all of your social media accounts, and we would greatly appreciate it. Nate, great to have you.
Yeah.
And I hope you guys have a great day.
Yep.